Hello. This time I'm gonna read from a text which is very important to me, from the Lakshmi Tantra. This is chapter 2 regarding the pure creation, or the unfolding of that which never changes. Lakshmi said, the supreme state of Paramatman, realized by Suris alone, is described as devoid of misery and devoid of limitation, its essence being the experience of bliss. One soul controls another, yet another soul is master over the first, and so forth, until when this chain ends, the final soul is called Paramatman, the world soul, the end of the way of ways. That which the word I or Aham denotes is known as Atman, or the self. Atman, when free from all restrictions, is known as Paramatman and embraces all sentient beings as well as insentient. The eternal I, the selfhood, denotes the being called God, Vasudeva, the great knower of the field. He is also known as Vishnu, Vishva, Narayana, and Vishvarupa. His I-hood pervades the whole universe. No single material or immaterial object exists that is not infused with this I-hood. I-hood is inherent in whatever is stamped as this. The Sanskrit term is idam, or a phenomena. Every phenomena is associated with the noumena. He, Vishnu, is perfectly tranquil, without any activity, changeless and eternal. He is without end and free from all limitations of time, place, and all other things. The source of that wide diffusion, which is called the vast expansion of divine power or vibhuti, is Brahman, the ultimate location of that power where consciousness is absolute, or where knowledge is free from reference to any objects. It, Brahman, is like a waveless ocean of nectar with the 6 divine attributes fully manifest. It is unique in the form of concentrated consciousness, quiescent and not subject to expansion or contraction. Since in this state Brahman is not differentiated from energy or Shakti, it is said to be non-dual or Advaita. Its supreme power, Shakti, like the rays of the moon, is itself Lakshmi herself, the goddess, the immortal one who identifies all states of being with her own self, Brahman's I-hood. He, Hari, being the self, Atman, is regarded as the self in all beings. I am, Lakshmi talks here, Lakshmi is the eternal I-hood of all living beings. Note, here we are talking about spiritual identity, about self-reference of the self, not about the lower ego or lower identity, which is basically identifying with mind, senses and body. Lakshmi says, I am considered to be the eternal Vasudeva state of existence. Brahman embraces both the principle of existence and its state of existence, basically the object and its various states. Hence it, Brahman, is the eternal state. When differentiated, When differentiated, the existing principle is God Narayana, and its state of existence is the supreme Lakshmi, myself. Therefore, Brahman, the eternal, is called Lakshmi Narayana, because the I entity is always inherent in the I-hood. Or basically like the self is embedded within the I. The I entity is always recognized as the source of I-hood. For one cannot exist without the other, and each is invariably linked to the other. Realize that the relationship between Lakshmi and the Lord is that of identity, because without I-hood, without the essential quality of the self, the I entity would want for want of association be meaningless. In the same way, I-hood without the I entity would, for want of basis, lack meaning. In this world, all objects of direct or indirect knowledge are regarded as the principle of existence and its state of existence, viewed collectively or separately. That I-hood, the great goddess, remains unmanifest during the time of Brahman's non-manifestation, and enfolding the universe within herself exists in Brahman. The first evidence of Brahman's expansion, like the moon rising out of the ocean, is Lakshmi's own self, Narayana's energy or Shakti, characterized by Brahman's will to create. The closing of the eyes of Brahman, the Supreme Self, at the time of destruction, is also Lakshmi, Narayana's energy, characterized by the will to sleep. Lakshmi's insuperable and unlimited divine power issues from her potential state, the will of God Narayana to create. Absolute knowledge is the essence of Brahman itself, which is omniscient and untainted. The essence of the I-hood, of Aham, is also knowledge, which is all-knowing and all-seeing. The absolute state of both Lakshmi and Brahman is identical with knowledge. The other attributes of divine power, such as Aishwarya, freedom, Virya, courage, are the ever-present attributes of knowledge, whereas knowledge is reputed to be the primary expression of the I or Atman. Luminosity and transparency are knowledge features, just as they are the characteristics of a crystal. Hence it is that self-knowledge, which is both the manifestation of Lakshmi and Narayana. In referring to Lakshmi's primal state of creativity, all scholars in all books of knowledge call her sovereignty Aishwarya, as the will to create, or as willpower in general, Icha Shakti. My aspect as the source of the universe is known as Shakti, meaning energy. The effortlessness with which I create is known as Bala, or strength. The term Bala also denotes the capacity to sustain creation. Scholars regarding this sustaining aspect of mine as an aspect of Shakti. So Bala is an aspect of Shakti. Tejas or light is an aspect of Jnana or knowledge. And courage or willpower is an aspect of Aishwarya or willpower. Although I am the material cause of the universe, changelessness or Virya is my permanent attribute. When milk turns into curd, it immediately changes its nature, but although I evolve into worldly phenomena, these changes of mine have no permanence. Hence, discerners of the truth hold that Virya means immutability. Virya is also said to be valor and courage, which is a component of freedom or Aishvarya. My capacity to accomplish all things without aid is called by the enlightened my sixth attribute, tejas or fire. Some define fire or tejas as the power to subjugate. Yet other schools of truth regard this attribute as a component of Aishvarya. These then are the 5 attributes directly flowing out of knowledge. So these are 3 primary attributes: knowledge, Aishvarya or freedom, and Shakti or energy, and 3 secondary ones: Bala or strength, Virya or valor, and Tejas or light. That's right. All 6 of these attributes, knowledge, freedom, energy, strength, courage, and light, together constitute my manifestation of the 6 attributes. This is how a millionth particle of herself, as the will to create, initiates creation, evolves into creation. It is this one particle which embraces both groups of creation, the pure and the impure creation. With pure creation is meant that which does not change, basically the nature herself as an abstract principle, time as an abstract higher principle, not chronological time but higher time, the soul, consciousness, these things are higher creation, whereas the permutations of these different energies form up the lower or impure creation, which consists of intelligence, ego, mind, space, air, fire, water, and earth. It should be noted here that earth represents the principle of creation, water the principle of sustenance, and fire the principle of dissolution. That glorious manifestation of the 6 attributes of the Absolute God assumes 4 forms in which the 6 attributes gradually manifest themselves from unmanifest to manifest. These 4 forms of God take place in 3 extraordinary stages. When the presence of the attributes is assumed, is the first step, when the attributes are in the course of becoming discernible, and finally when these divine attributes, knowledge, willpower, energy, are fully manifest. Through permutation and combination of the 3 pairs of 6 attributes referred to as knowledge, freedom, and so on, can be seen to constitute the group of the 4 manifestations, or Chaturvyuha. When those 3 pairs of attributes are simultaneously present, in combination as well as separately, that state of mind, the inert one, is known as my fourfold state. Even without referring to my visible manifestations and by merely basing their deduction on the attributes, philosophers identify my fourfold form with my inert state. Or inert here means transcendent. Through the combination of the 3 pairs of attributes, this manifestation is an evolution of my supremely inert state, gradually becoming discernible and manifest and immanent. The first of my manifestations in the fourfold state is undisturbed, undefined, enduringly pure existence, lacking the concept of particularization, and is known as transcendental existence and knowledge. That is the first manifestation, the first deviation from complete inertia. In other words, this is what is known as Lord Vasudeva. Lord Vasudeva is basically all one. He is Brahman. He is both Lakshmi and Narayana in union. So, Lord Vasudeva, although completely looking like Lord Narayana, basically, he is just basically his energy or Shakti is merged into his heart. So from the Vasudeva state of existence, everything is one. From the Vasudeva state of existence, there is only me, only you. All of us together in one person, basically. That is Lord Vasudeva. This is also called Nirguna Brahman. And Nirguna Brahman is Brahman without any qualities or attributes. So, although Vasudeva consists of all 6 qualities, knowledge, freedom, energy, strength, courage, and light, he basically he is the most transcendent of these 4 manifestations of the Lord. The second manifestation is Lord Sankarsana, which means all attracting, and embodies the 2 attributes of knowledge or jnana and strength or bala, and enfolds the entire creation in the same way that, you know, like dark spots on a human body grow, like in a very small, from something very small to something very big. The idea here comes of the singularity or of black hole, which is completely contracted together, or of the saying of Jesus that his kingdom is basically inside as small as a mustard seed. So in the Sankarsana aspect, the wise discern a combination of the attributes of primordial knowledge and primordial strength, or omnipotence and omniscience. Thereafter, in the course of manifestation, the Lord gradually becomes more and more active. During that stage of activity, I am called the master of all created objects, Pradyumna, in which form I manifest the attributes known as Aishvarya or freedom and Virya or courage. This is interesting as a note because Lord Pradyumna is basically the cosmic Kama Deva or Cupid. So there are like 2 Cupids in both India and Greece. In Greece, or in Europe. In Greece, basically the Roman concept is the concept of Cupid as an Olympian, whereas in the Greece concept, by Ovid and Orpheus, basically suggests that the first being, Phanes, is called Eros, and from Eros came everything, and this Eros is Lord Pradyumna. It's also the first being inside the cosmic egg. So Pradyumna is the god of love, but is also associated with willpower or desire and with courage. So, and the 4th manifestation of Vishnu, when his energy through the impetus gained from activity or Kriya Shakti is swayed by the will to act, they call the Lord Aniruddha or ungovernable. The Lord is not controllable, he's not governable. And this is basically the 4th manifestation. So there are like 4 manifestations, 4 elements. Like Lord Vasudeva, Vasu means the life airs, the breath. So Lord Vasudeva is basically the Lord of Pneuma, the Lord of consciousness. And it's the most subtle. Lord Sankarsana represents fire due to omnipotence. And Lord Sankarsana basically is the visual, but the more the fury aspect of the Lord. Basically, he's also the destroyer. As I said before, fire dissolves. So Lord Sankarsana is associated with everything that glows and shines in this fury, with everything that is associated with fire. He's also called Lord Ananta, so he's basically like the Ouroboros, or the Ouroboros is his animalistic form. So it's basically the principle of infinity. Cupid, or Lord Aniruddha, is the third Vishnu form, and he rules basically over the principle of intelligence as well as feelings, willpower, freedom, expression. He's more expansive basically. From his stage, everything is created and expands outwards. And Lord Aniruddha is basically the earth aspect, whereas Pradyumna is the water aspect. So the earth aspect is cohesive, it gives structure, and Lord Aniruddha exactly does this by also being portrayed often as dark in color, dark like some stone or something extremely solid. He's extremely solid and compact. Lord Aniruddha is also the world soul Paramatma, which basically is present in every human's body and every tree and everywhere. These consecutive and gradual states, these four states, are described as deep sleep, dream, and waking. So Lord Sankarsana represents deep sleep and intuition. Lord Pradyumna or Eros represents the dream state, and the waking state is associated with Lord Aniruddha. In the course of the manifestation of the three attributes of self-knowledge, freedom, and energy, these are known as the innate attributes, as they are generally referred to Lakshmi's three differentiations. On the other hand, the three other attributes, namely Bala, Virya, and Tejas, or strength, courage, and light, are divine qualities which are auxiliary and are defined as the eradication of imperfections, such as fatigue and the like. Hence, there are two states of types of activities, the inert and the active, or the transcendental and the immanent. Lakshmi says, "My manifestations in creation is only another facet of my existence, which involves no duality in the same way as waves surging up in the ocean remain the same water. Generally speaking, the form of my manifestation is determined by the particular pair of attributes required for fulfillment of my function. Hence, jnana, or knowledge in combination with strength, is named Lord Sankarsana. Aishwarya, or freedom in association with courage, constitutes Lord Pradyumna. And Aniruddha represents energy or Shakti in conjunction with Tejas, or light." Whereas in the initial state, the state which is ruled over by Lord Vasudeva or Brahman, the undifferentiated complex of the six attributes is identified with the absolute entity Brahman. So Vasudeva has all six qualities, whereas the other ones also have all six qualities, but just two are highlighted or especially active. And together, basically, they form like Lord Vasudeva. Just in the same way as an actor may appear in several roles, displaying differences in dress, plot, etc., revealing various traits of characters such as persuasiveness, magnanimity, cruelty, valor. So, because of my urge to benefit the world, and by virtue of the attributes of knowledge, freedom, power, and so on, I assume the forms of Sankarsana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, yet I retain my single one entity. My motive for doing this is to aid living beings involved in the cycle of destruction, creation, and maintenance by helping them to become acquainted with, by deepening their study of, and by assisting them harvesting the fruits of religious instructions through Sankarsana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. My fourfold state includes the four states or qualia of consciousness: Turiya, Pragya, Taijasa, and Vishva. And these four are of course known as the fourth, the highest state, the transcendental state. Pragya is called intuition and is associated with the deep sleep state, where all polarity stops. Taichasa is associated with Lord Pradyumna, and it's also associated with the dream state. And Vishva, or Vishva means waking or being awake, or the cosmos. So this fourth is Lord Aniruddha. The divine manifestations or Vaibhavas of the omniscient God originating from Lord Padmanabha has innumerable forms. The various manifestations of Lord Aniruddha alone are revealed in the Sattvata Tantra. The Arca incarnations, these are the deities the Hindus use of Lord Vishnu, the temple icons of those whose mind has been purified by God himself are also described there. Through the influence of mantras and their presiding deities related to the performance of nyasa, such images also embody the 6 divine attributes. They are all included in my 4 vyuha states, starting with the para state and ending with the arca state incarnations. So the highest manifestation of God is called para or para Brahman, which is neither nirguna nor saguna. Then this can be associated also with Lord Vasudeva. Then fourfold manifestations of the vyuhas can be associated with Lord Sankarsana, who manifests them. The Dasavataras, or 10 primary incarnations, are associated with Lord Pradyumna, and basically all the material manifestations of the Lord are associated with Lord Aniruddha. Hence all the arca forms of the Lord, even if they are Pradyumna or Sankarsana, are always manifestations of Lord Aniruddha. And incarnations of the Lord down here are also incarnations of Lord Aniruddha. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, said, "In essence, I consist of consciousness and matchless bliss, like pure space. I am Narayani, Hari's state of existence, and my nature resembles his. My essence being consciousness, I am neither inert nor active, nor an intermediary state between the two. I represent the nature peculiar to Hari, the all-pervasive Vishnu, who is the world soul and has the same character as myself. His form is undifferentiated, homogeneous and inscrutable, and I, also undifferentiated, am of his form and possess perfect tranquility. From time to time, a billionth particle of ourselves, composed of consciousness, stirs into activity. That particle, which is known as the urge to create, is in the form of I will create according to my liking, whereupon I, Lakshmi, with that particle of myself, instantaneously evolve into pure creation. Instantaneously. So creation unfolds instantaneously. If you put the light, if you put the electric circuit on, then the lights go on. It's that simple. As the brilliance of a diamond shines forth in all directions, so does my pure course of creative activity diffuse its rays in every direction. Pure creation issues forth from my form of concentrated absolute knowledge, whose tranquility resembles a cloudless sky or a still ocean. This is, as a note, this of course is Lord Vasudeva. On the second form, devoid of all activity, ever blissful, pure, all-embracing and supreme, the primeval self-knowledge becomes manifest and is known as Sankarshana. Divine willpower is my sovereign power to create the universe without any dependence on any factor outside of myself. This form is Pradyumna, the excellent person. My energy, which is immanent, irresistible, and which pervades this whole variegated universe, is known as my Aniruddha form. These resplendent and blue lotus-eyed Purushas, Purusha here indicating form of Vishnu, are the forms manifesting the divine attributes of Jnana or self-knowledge, Aishvarya or willpower, and energy or action. Pradyumna, Aniruddha and Sankarshana are respectively responsible for the creation, maintenance and dissolution of creation. So here Eros or Pradyumna is the creator, Aniruddha is the maintainer, and Lord Sankarshana is the destroyer, from which Shiva derives his power. My primordial form, when the urge to create the universe first stirs in me, is Vasudeva, who may be compared to an absolutely waveless ocean or to a cloudless sky. The manifestations of all 6 divine attributes, Jnana, Shakti, Aishvarya, Bala, Virya and Tejas, in equal proportions is called Vasudeva. When of these attributes only Jnana and Bala are manifested, I am Sankarshana, who supports the entire creation without aid. He manifests himself dimly like black marks, or like the stars inside the infinite expanse of the cosmos. Hence, in Vedanta literature, Sankarshana is also called Bala or strength. The manifestations of Virya, virility and courage, and Aishvarya or willpower is named Pradyumna. Since Virya signifies immutability, he or Pradyumna is changeless. My manifestation of Shakti or energy and light or Tejas is known as Aniruddha. Tejas means absolute sovereignty and irresistibility. The sacred literature, like a clap of thunder, issues forth from Sankarshana. All activities originate from God Pradyumna, and all the results or fruits of such activities are said to issue from Lord Aniruddha. Here in the creation of this universe, Aniruddha is verily the creator. Pradyumna sustains what the former has created, and creation thus protected by him is devoured in the end by Lord Sankarshana. These 3 gods function with spontaneous These gods function with spontaneous benevolence through the acts of creation, maintenance and dissolution in accordance with sacred texts, religious duties, dharma, and the fruits thereof. Though each god manifests only one particular attribute or aspect, yet all the 6 divine attributes are vested in all 3 of them, so that in fact they stand on the same footing, more or less, neither less nor more than the eternal Vasudeva. Their major and minor limbs and intelligence are not phenomenal. Their bodies containing the divine sixfold attributes are divine and eternal. O Lord of Heaven, Lakshmi here talks to Indra, the Lord of Heaven, it is erroneous to think that there is any essential difference between these four manifestations. In order to stress the particular activity associated with each, such differentiations are envisaged by Scripture. Willpower is not different from knowledge, and again, Shakti or energy is not different from willpower. These three chakra are my forms envisaged to focus on in meditation. First, there is only the substance of reality itself. Then comes the state of being. Next, there is the object created, and last of all, there is activity. All created beings pass through these four consecutive stages. I voluntarily divide myself into four as Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha, but I continue to infuse all four forms with my consciousness, Samvid. In each forms, the gods Vasudeva and the other three in turn again divide themselves into three forms, into Keshava, Narayana, etc. These are the Vyuhantaras, so called by the pancharatra scriptures, and these 12 forms of God are engaged in conducting the activities in creation. These projections, manifestations as Padmanabha and so on, are the Vaibhava evolution of Hari as Aniruddha, who though omnipresent yet assumes these manifold forms for the benefit of the world. So all these manifestations in the end are forms of Lord Aniruddha. From time to time, to benefit the world, the Lord of the world appears in the form of a man or god. Such manifestations constitute a different type of Vaibhava. God's image conceived by himself or by various deities, sages, mains or demigods for favoring the world are his arca forms, consisting of pure knowledge. Thus I have briefly explained the pure course of creation. Now listen as I describe the course of creation containing the three gunas, the components of phenomenal existence. The pure knowledge described to you earlier evolves into Sattva guna, Aishvarya evolves into Rajaguna, and Shakti or energy evolves into Tamoguna. In the process of evolution, Rajaguna plays the leading role, whilst Sattva and Tamas are auxiliary. As I have already stated, a millionth part of myself is again divided, and using a millionth particle of that fraction, I create the universe. At the very beginning of all Saguna creation, I, Mahalakshmi, the great goddess, vested with the three gunas, focusing the creative urge upon the Rajaguna, start creating. Here you need to know that Rajaguna also basically means the senses. Tamoguna means objects you can see, hear, taste, smell, and Sattvaguna is the mind. So these are the three principles of nature.